That $0 and that hustle of a couple hard years of work. It was hard years of me and Heather working at that apartment complex led to million plus dollars down the road, tons of cash flow. Dude, I love real estate.
What's up, everybody?
What's up, everyone? Welcome back
to the Beardy Brandon
podcast.
We've been
practicing that.
You're a little off. This is what my 6-year-old daughter does. Did you know that?
This is what my 6-year-old daughter does.
She does that too. You know because you have a 7-year-old.
Wow.
What's up? If you don't know by the voice and by the beard and by the sarcasm, we are honored today to have a special guest, Mr. Brandon Turner in the house. So
in my house, in my office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This might be your house sometimes.
There's a shower here.
Kick you to the curb.
Yeah, there is a shower and a couch, so a person could live here.
Yeah, you got your barber down the street.
Yep.
You got your house.
Akamai coffee right over there. Barber.
That was do you know?
Maui brew.
We met there. I don't know if that was the first time we met.
It might have been. We did meet there.
It might have been the first time we met. It might have been. Yeah.
We should go there afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't know what time they close it.
They
close in 30
big,
minutes.
Big coffee.
I know, you and your coffee. You can't get enough
Those
of it.
smoothies are good, though.
They are good.
I do have smoothies. But, hey, I'm excited to have you here because...
I'm more excited.
Dude, you actually are... You're not more excited. You actually... you actually are, like, the legend when it comes to teaching, coaching, inspiring all things real estate investing.
Wow. Thank you.
So, I mean it. There's a lot of real estate legends out there. I'm one of them. Just kidding. No, but I mean, you have Robert Kiyosaki. You have like the Grant Cardone, who we actually had on the show a couple weeks ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wow, look
crazy.
at you.
Yeah. Everyone, for the record, everyone's been asking, how much did you pay him? How did you set all that up? And I'm like, he DM'd me on Instagram, and we thought it was fake, and it was real, and so we had a podcast.
That's great.
So it was awesome, but. Anyhow, low key, I like Brandon in his philosophies. Probably aligned a lot better than we are.
Thank you. I probably agree. He's got some admirable things about him. I like him.
No, me too, dude. Yeah, it's one of I was like, you should go back and listen to the episode, but the first 45 minutes, we didn't even talk real estate, and like, I loved it. It was so good. And then we got into real estate, and it wasn't as good. No, it was...
Wait, you have a podcast?
Yeah.
That's the line I should have said when you said the podcast.
Oh,
Dang
man.
it, I missed it.
Hey, good thing is when you have the keys, you can edit out any of this stuff. So
dang it.
Silver golden. But no, dude, on the real, like, that's actually how we became friends, because I resonated with you. I listened to your podcast for many years.
I thought it was Tinder that we became friends. We don't talk about that one. Edit that one out. Oh, dude.
Is it Tinder or is it Grindr?
Grindr is the better one, yeah.
The fact
I didn't know if your audience would know that, though. I didn't want to make that joke because they'd be like, wait, that doesn't make sense. The fact that you know about Grindr makes me wonder a little bit.
It makes sense.
Mr. Brody Fawcett.
Man, hurry and delete that app on my phone. Well, we are going to talk about real estate today, believe it or not. It's going to be a quick episode, but we have a real deal episode where we go over one deal that somebody has found, funded, and forced. And today we get none other than the real estate legend to dive into it. So, Beardy Brandon, what deal are we going to talk about today?
I would like to talk about, there's a lot. Why don't we talk about
You like that little there's
thousands of deals. There's hundreds of
He's
thousands of deals.
He's not even exact. Maybe 100,000.
Hundreds of millions of deals. Why don't we talk about, you know what, I want to talk about this one instead. I was going to talk about the one, but that's a more lame story. I want to talk about the very first mobile home park I ever bought.
Oh, yes. I love this because this is a little bit different than what we get. So, 10,000 foot overview, mobile home park. What was the purchase price? Where is it? Kind of just give us an idea.
All right, so here's the backstory. So I owned a 24-unit apartment building in Grays Harbor, Washington, a little county out on the coast in Washington. I bought that with seller financing, actually a variety of methods, but ended up seller financing with it. Had it for, almost 10 years, something like that. Fixed up every unit myself. My wife and I were there all the time fixing it up. We were ready. One day we just got an unsolicited offer, just like some random guy driving by, saw it, contacted the property manager. They said, hey, I want to buy it. We were like, okay. Which is a good indication, like people sell sometimes, just like it never occurred to me to sell. I was just like, I just moving along just in life, and then the guy hit me up, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll talk. Offered me a decent price for it, which today is probably worth double that, but whatever. I sold the property to this guy, and then I had to do a 1031 exchange. I didn't want to pay like $100,000 in taxes, which is what I was going to be faced with. So I decided to go out and hunt, and I told everybody I knew I wanted a mobile home park. And for no other reason other than I interviewed a bunch of people that did mobile home parks, and I always thought that sounded cool, so I thought, I'm going to buy one. As many might know and might not know, you only have 45 days to identify your property after you sell the first one in order to avoid those taxes. I got to identify it within 45 days. So I'm telling everyone I know about this. Then I take this trip over to New York City because I'm asked, a friend of mine's like, hey, I have a meetup in New York, can you come fly in? I'm like, sure. I lived in Washington at the time, so I fly 6 hours across the country. My daughter is like a few months old. She throws up on my wife in the airplane within the first minute of getting on the plane, and we did not bring a change of clothes. We're young parents, we didn't realize this was the thing that you should do. So we didn't bring a change of clothes. She throws up all over my wife. She stinks. I stink like throw up because I got trying to clean her off. I get it on me. It's a red-eye flight. We sleep not a wink at all. Fly all the way across the country. I land at 9 a.m. or whatever in New York time, which is really like, 3 hours earlier. It's like 6 a.m. whatever. So I land, and I have a podcast in 1 hour with Grant Cardone.
Okay.
I have to get. I have the
You
bigger
trying to
pockets.
one-up me right now?
I am. It's funny that the story is.
Was it
similar.
in person?
No.
Oh, okay.
But that was the problem. Is I had 1 hour to get to a place I could have a podcast. So I ended up driving around. I found some random like Hampton Inn or something like that. And I'm like, do you have Wi-Fi? And they're like, you have to rent a room. And I'm like, fine. So I rent a room at this Hampton Inn, and I get the Wi-Fi. And I interview Grant. Went fine. I go to this meetup that night, and the whole time I'm like, what the heck am I, like, I should not be here. This was such a waste of time. This sucks. I'm flying across the country. I still smell like puke. Haven't showered yet. I'm like, this is just, why am I doing this for free to fly across the country to go speak at an event? And while I'm there, I mentioned on stage, I'm looking to buy a mobile home park, ideally somewhere around 50 units. And I'm getting desperate. I'm like, I got like a few days left on my 1031. And somebody in the audience.
How much money was this, out of curiosity?
I had like 200 grand. Well, I had 200 grand to spend, like is what I had to put into something,
okay,
roughly. So there was a gentleman in the audience of that speech I gave there, whatever the meetup. There's probably 200 people there, and one of them had flown down from Bangor, Maine. Tall, handsome, Nordic-looking fella named Ryan Murdoch. And Ryan Murdoch did not come up and say hi. We don't even think we shook hands that night. But a few days later, I get an email that says, "Hey, you probably don't know me." He was on a podcast years earlier, but he's like, "You probably don't remember me, but I was on your podcast. And I was there in New York and heard you say you want a mobile home park. Well, buddy of mine is selling his. And it's 52 units or 49, something like that. I think it was 49 and we made it 52. Here's the numbers. I'm sure it's a terrible deal, but here you go." And that's how that started. I said, hallelujah, this actually could pencil out. It looks like a decent deal.
And Ryan wasn't doing mobile homes.
He was not. He was managing them. He owned a management company at the time, or
Okay.
had owned one at one point. He owned a bunch of his own rentals. They're just kind of like crappy little rental property in a small town, like I had. And I looked at it and I was like, "This looks awesome." But I said, the only way I would do it is if you partner with me on it, because I don't know Bangor, Maine. I don't know the area. I don't know the property managers, contractors, nothing. And this thing was pretty rough. Like, it was not like we buy today. We buy nice ones today. This was rough. We had a bank robber in one of them. We had a prostitute in one who wasn't actually a prostitute. Let me tell you guys a little scheme if you want to make some money. This is a good one. If you advertise that you are a prostitute and you get men to come to your trailer, and then your boyfriend comes out and robs the guy, they can't do anything about it because they can't report you because they were there for hooking up with a hooker. It's
so
the perfect
together,
crime.
So the prostitute and the robber.
And the boyfriend, the robber and the prostitute are together in on this scheme where they would send people, the guys would come in, the truckers or people would come through, and they just would rob them, and then she wouldn't have to sleep with the guy, and they get money. It's like a win-win-win for everybody involved.
Except for the guy that...
Well, he didn't have to commit a crime. Like, everybody wins in this situation is really what I'm trying to get at. He gets punished correctly.
That's true, okay.
Everybody wins. What a great... So, Brody and I have a new business that we're starting.
I'll be the robber.
Anyway, so this is a rundown place, all I have to say. And Ryan and I partnered on it, but I still did not have enough money for it.
Okay. So when you say you partnered with him, what did that partnership look like?
So the way that we looked at it, I said, I've never done a syndication before at this point. I'd never done one. I didn't know much about it. But typically in a syndication, a 70-30 split is typically how a syndication is done, where 30% goes to the general partners, the one putting the deal together, and 70% goes to the limited partners, the people providing the money. Well, I didn't have enough to buy the whole thing. We needed a pretty large down payment. So I didn't have the whole money. So we went to a third friend, another partner. They brought some money. I brought some money, and Ryan brought a little bit of money. So the way we structured it is like a syndication. We said, let's just pretend me and Ryan are the GP. So we each took 15% each of the deal, so 15 and 15. The other 70 we just carved up based on how much each person invested. Okay. So I was putting in roughly half. So that's how it worked out. So I think I ended up with 42% of the actual deal at the time it was all said and done. And Ryan maybe had 15 or 20, and the other partner had the rest. So
cool. Okay. Yeah, I want to dive into that. First off, do you still have this out of curiosity?
I don't. We sold it a few years after that for about double what we paid for it.
Okay. And what did you pay for, just to touch on
$950, somewhere around $950. $950,000.
And you sold it for about double that?
Yeah, just about double that. Somewhere right. It was like 1.8 maybe.
And this was over 5 years, 6 years?
We held it for 4 years, roughly.
Dude, it's crazy what you've done in 4 years.
It's not, yeah, not nuts.
Because I remember literally you talking about, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this thing. Yeah. I'm gonna get into mobile home, because you voiced it before you did it quite a bit. Like, hey, I want to do this. I'm gonna get into this.
I'm a big believer. Put it out in the universe what you want. Like, put your desires out there. Like, this
which takes a lot when you have a lot of people that are listening to you consistently. You're like, I'm gonna go do this, and now you have how many units?
13,000.
13,000. So when you said you had to choose from 100,000 deals, you weren't that far off.
No, it's actually, it's like 13,000 deals, but we've only actually done maybe 80 actual deals, because there's a lot of large properties.
Yeah. So what was the down payment on this one? I know you kind of.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere around the $300K mark, if I remember right.
Okay.
So I brought, roughly, I think, because I actually ended up buying two. It goes in the weeds a little bit. I ended up dividing and buying two properties with that money I had. I had $200,000 to invest. Okay. But I ended up needing like 80 of it for another property I bought. It ended up being a terrible deal. And there's actually a lesson here. I bought another 24 unit in Ohio. I found somebody sent it to me on Bigger Pockets. It was like, here's one that I think might fit your 1031. And then somebody else brought, and then Ryan brought this mobile home park. So I bought both. So I put 100 and something into it from the 1031 exchange.
Okay.
The one in Ohio though, I ended up keeping it for 2 years or a year and a half, ended up losing me money every single month. I sold it for what I bought it for. At the end of it, it was terrible. I bought it for $650, I sold it for $650 or $630 or something like that. Ironically, within 6 months, the property I held for almost 2 years and couldn't make a dime, the guy had it completely turned around, fixed up, rented out fully, the new buyer, or the guy who bought it from me. And then it was worth like twice, if not more. And now today it's probably worth 4 times what I paid for it. Why?
I'm glad you sold it to me.
No, this guy that bought it from me, he was local. It was a weird small little submarket, like 20 miles outside of Cincinnati. He understood it. He invested there. He knew the market. He knew how to handle it, and he could get there every day and check on it. So some areas are just really hard to invest long distance, and that's one of them. And so what's the difference? It's like a tale of two investments. Why did the one work better? Because I had Ryan. I still bought in 2 crappy areas. Like, they were both crappy areas. They were both C-class tenant. They were both similar in every way. And mobile home park's probably worse, but that one thrived because we had Ryan. And so don't underestimate the value of boots on the ground and really like intimate knowledge of a market when you're investing. That's that lesson.
That's a great lesson. Yeah, thank you for touching on that. It's interesting too, because I almost, like, not to get too deep in the weeds, but I look at like what led into this. Where did you get that $200,000 to be able to 1031 exchange? And you go back to this property that you essentially seller financed, right? I don't know what your down payment was, but nothing.
Yeah,
okay,
basically
so
nothing.
This is what's crazy. And then you follow that to, like, the story doesn't end with $200,000. The story doesn't end with taking that and then getting cash flow and then doubling that money. The story, like, is still going, right? Because then you partnered with Ryan, and then still doing stuff.
Yeah, we partnered together, so we got to experience the whole thing. But I sold that property, the mobile home park, after a few years, because there was a hassle factor to it. It was a headache for Ryan, it was a headache for us.
Yeah,
and it actually didn't produce
prostitutes.
Prostitutes. We had a bank robber in there who actually was on the run from the feds for robbing a bank with a gun. It was great. So it was just a lot of hassle factor, and we learned what we liked and didn't like with mobile home parks. We learned that we liked larger ones. Like, the bigger you get, the more stable they tend to be. So we learned, but then I took that money that I made, so I turned my 100 and whatever, I think it was 120 maybe down payment, and I more than doubled that. I think I quadrupled it. I took that and I put it as a down payment on a condo here in Maui, over at the condo complex over there, and that thing produces well over $10,000 a month in cash flow today. So
it's amazing.
It's part of a line, and what I like about this whole story is it started 15.
And that allows your wife to be
a real estate professional, which offsets our taxes and
millions.
It's it just shows a life cycle of an investor where like it starts very small with this. I was 20 when I bought that first apartment complex. I was like 24, didn't know what I was doing, had almost no money, and yeah, when I say no money down, that's a whole different deal we could do someday. But the sellers wanted to sell it to me. They didn't want a down payment, but they had to be able to pay the transfer tax, which was like, I don't know, $7,000 or something. And they didn't have that. I didn't have that. So they couldn't even sell it to me on seller financing because I couldn't, even at 0% down, because I couldn't even afford the closing costs. So we ended up doing a lease option on it where I rented it from them. And then I just managed it and I fixed up the units until the cash flow was making a couple $1,000 a month. I used the cash flow to save up the money needed for the down payment, which then I used for the closing costs, which wasn't even down payment, it was just like $7,000, which got it seller financing. So it's like from pure hustle to million. And by the way, that condo, I have $1 million of equity in it now.
Nice.
Which is absolutely nuts. I mean, I bought it for $700, it's worth 1.4, but I put a $300,000 down payment on it, so I have $1 million in equity. So like that $0 and that hustle of a couple hard years of work, it was hard years of me and Heather working at that apartment complex, led to million plus dollars down the road, tons of cash flow, and that's just one piece of that branch. But it branched this way, right? Like, dude, I love real estate.
It's actually crazy because I mean I could go back the same thing. It's very very similar stories.
Yeah, patch them all in. And
just patch them all in. I tell her all the time. Like my first house that I bought for $6,000 down, $5,600, has made me over $1 million cash.
Yeah.
You know, I mean probably more than that actually if I went through all the ways. But people are like, no, you can't make $1 million cash over one. Property that costs $155K. Like, no, look, I'll show you. Boom, 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 boom. This is what it looks like. You know,
it's like a tree. And Steve Jobs once has said, he has a great quote. It says, "You can't connect the dots looking back, looking forward, only looking back."
Yeah.
And so, like, you can never, like, when you're getting into real estate, you just have to believe that those dots are there. You will get to them. It will branch if you keep with it, and your wealth will build. You just don't always feel that when you're in it.
Yeah, so good, dude. Okay, so people that are listening, as far as this mobile home, the first one you bought, we kind of know how you structured the partnership. As far as funding it goes, was it 30% down? Was it a commercial loan? What does financing look like on something like that? And who did they use to underwrite the deal? Was it you? Was it all your partners together?
I'm pretty sure it was seller financing, actually. I think the seller carried it, but it wasn't zero down. I think he wanted a pretty good down payment. But he carried the contract on that. He was an older investor, super nice guy, and he was at another phase of his career where he just wanted cash flow. Yeah. So he seller financed it, and that was how that was. And then I kind of ran the math side of the deal, and Ryan ran the management side, and then the other partner was really just money. And she's amazing. And
that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Out. Cool. And then kind of last one on this, how did you force it? I know you've touched on a bunch of different things already, but anything else like on how you forced the deal and got creative?
Oh man, I mean, I think the biggest lesson on forcing that deal to like make that actually happen was just in the relentless pursuit of my goal. And what I mean by that is like I had to do a 1031 exchange, or I thought I wanted to. And so I told everybody, and I worked at it every single day, and I had a countdown of like, these are my 45 days, and I was hustling. And so like, you could say I manifested that deal, and I think it's a good example of some people look at manifestation as like magic, and they're like, oh yeah, I manifested it, I thought about it, and it came true, you know? I look at it as like, I manifested it because I freaking worked at it every single day. And I got it, and I made it happen, so I forced it into existence by sheer will and some good luck.
Yeah, that's dude, so cool. And the fact that you like voiced that too, like voiced it to thousands and thousands of people, that
billions
that I mean maybe billions, who knows. What's your downloads at all time?
7.5 billion.
I thought you were going to pretend like you didn't know the stat for a second. Like, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's got it tattooed on his arm.
Every time I get a new billion, I just add another mark. I think Bigger Pockets has 120 million or something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Way cool. Which, I mean, if you haven't heard of Brandon Turner, you're missing out. So
if you have not heard of Brandon Turner, you're clearly not on Grindr. That's all I can say.
Yeah. So
I'm a big deal there.
Okay, we might have to edit that. My kids listen to this podcast, so
I'm just saying I'm a big deal.
Hey, so this is your his barber cut my hair today. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I need a barber. The person on my side, burnt down. The shop's gone. Yeah, it was good. I was like, how much would you like take money from me to accidentally like shave Beardy Brandon's beard?
Oh yeah, she probably would.
But then it would turn into a lawsuit. You'd probably sue her because it's now your brand.
It's my brand. It's my trademark. Yeah.
It's your brand. So
I would love to know if that's ever happened. Has anybody ever gotten sued over a beard brand cut?
You could do it.
I probably could.
Have you seen those videos of Stop the Knot or whatever it is?
No.
People, the top knot's really big. On there's YouTube videos, they run up, grab it, and cut, and just sprint. We need to do that with Brandon's beard.
That's so funny.
Shear the beard or something. Yeah. All right, dude. Well, if people want to find you, they're probably not going to find you online. So where's the next best place to do that?
There's an app called Grindr. It's a big deal.
Don't Google that. Okay.
Don't Google that. My name is Brandon Turner. You can find me on every social media platform ever invented. I'm especially fond of Instagram these days. Beardy Brandon over there. In YouTube, Beardy Brandon over there. And TikTok, where I do dances to music. That's not true. But I'm also at Beardy Brandon there. You can join my text message newsletter at beardybrandon.com, where every week I text you the book that I'm reading and what I'm learning about it, and a bunch of real estate questions that I answer there. So
it's actually
beardybrandon.com.
It's actually clutch. That's good stuff. And then tell people just about Better Life really quick.
Better Life is an accountability mastermind for real estate investors who are active and want to become more successful, and we give 100% of profits away to charity.
So legit. Amazing. So amazing. I remember when you were pivoting from podcast that you were doing and started a new one now, right?
My theory in life, why make money when you can give it all away?
so legit,
so much more poor.
You have given so much away, which is super admirable. So, dude, people have seen a new side of you on this podcast, and they might be questioning if they actually know who Brandon Turner is or not. So
listen, I lead worship at church. All right, I'm not on Grindr. All right, calm down.
He plays the drums. If that means
I do not play drums. Well, I do play the drums though.
Do you really?
Yeah, just not at church. They don't let me do that.
You play it at Little Beach.
I do. Me in the drum circle.
That's where the Grindr comes full circle right there.
All the hippies at Little Beach playing the drums. Yeah, it's a good time.
Well, hopefully you've gotten something from this podcast.
I doubt it.
That's been beneficial in the real estate space.
Yeah, I really doubt it.
If you haven't, tune back in next week, and we'll catch you guys there for some more knowledge bombs. So thanks, Beardy B.
Thanks. They call me Big Brandon.